Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see everybody. We're here today. It's the man cave. It's that time of the month. Got myself T-Bone Funk, and as you can see right next to me, we have.
Sadal.
All right, we are ready to get into a pretty good. We got some things to talk about. We got some things to talk about here. Before we go into anything else, last week, started out with some. I don't know if it was last week or it was the week before. Had some news that wasn't all that great, but you know what? There was a incident that happened yesterday, and we just want to make sure that everybody knows. So we want to send our prayers out to all the families that were affected by everything that happened, yesterday. These senseless acts need to stop, and we need to figure out a way to make it happen. So, you know, um, these things just can't be normalized, and we can't just accept it as every day. So, just wanted to say that at the start of the show.
Hey,
Again,
on a lighter note, man, Stanton's computer still needs some milk, man.
oh, needs a
The
little bit.
milk was spoiled, man. He tried to use the milk from last month, and it spoiled on us.
Well, you know what? Last month for the man cave, this is how the show ended. But to let everybody know, and the way that this should be going down this month, it's going to be like some building blocks. We're going to be adding people as we go. So you know what? Right now, top of the hour, this is what we have, and we're going to be adding people. Could be like that old preview channel. Top of the hour, 30 minutes below. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about some things that we have here with the Platform Sports Talk Show Network. That's right, it's a network. We got a bunch of shows, bunch of people coming from Orlando and St. Louis. The Platform Sports Talk Show, normally Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. We are here on the Roku, and don't forget, we're on Hot 365 Radio till 9 p.m. So check us out here, and then if you're on the radio listening, make sure that you come and find us. We're on YouTube. So yeah, that's the Hot 365 Radio. You can see Ladies Night, the Man Cave, and the gold standard, the Platform Sports Talk Show. Every week there's something new. It's always hot on Hot 365 Radio. But don't forget, hey, if you have a chance, follow us on Facebook, the Platform Sports Talk Show. Follow us on Twitter at 314 Sports Talk. And hey, most of y'all looking at us right now on YouTube anyway, the Platform Sports Talk Show. You can email us, Instagram. We are everywhere you need to be. But hey, with that YouTube, make sure that you go ahead and like and subscribe. That way you will be notified. All right. So you know what? Oh, and look at that.
Hey,
We got Miss Williams. Hi, Miss Williams. How you doing? We're happy to have you, joining us. I don't think I saw you on here last week, but hey, hope everything is well. Hope everything is good. Sadal.
yes, sir.
Oh, you know what? I think I just got the cue to stall for a few seconds because you never know. Like I said, we're adding people on as we go here. So, but Sadal, man, what's on your mind, man? What's the word?
Man, I heard somebody said something about somebody's school. Almost like saying something about somebody's mama, and somebody got offended. One Nick Saban said something about one Deion Sanders and his recruiting tactics and something with the name, image, and likeness. That's been on my mind. So apparently Nick Saban was on. I don't know. No, he wasn't on a show. I think he was talking to his boosters. I don't, not sure the audience. But he was, really excited about talking about the today's state in college sports. And one of the things he was saying is, he was expressing his disdain about the NIL. and he was saying that how people like Deion Sanders is buying players, buying players to help them get NIL money to get on their team. And Deion Sanders is like, oh, no, that's not what we doing right now. You're not gonna blame us. Look, Deion stance is we don't need NIL to recruit. People come to HBCUs because they want to, because it's a culture, not because we have to pay people, And it opens up a whole can of worms right there, man. A lot of nuances is going on there with what's said and what's not being said. If you catch my drift. So it's been interesting, man. And this whole NIL, the NCAA has to put a lid on this, man. It has to, at least put a governor on it to make sure it's not getting out of control, But as it stands right now, no one really has a plan, and the government really doesn't really care about what's going on. So it's just like the Wild West right now. And hey, players are taking advantage of it, getting NIL deals, and man, it's crazy out here, man, in these college streets.
And you know what? I've been saying since before I was official here on the show, I've been saying for a while, like, hey, this is the way that players should get paid, right? If they're going to get paid for college sports, this is the perfect way to do it because it's their name, their likeness. Like, let them make the money off the marketing and stuff that they can do with their name, as the schools would do for the school's name and the other players' names. But you know what? I also said that this was going to be a thing with the bigger schools, is that, once they see, it's with him naming Texas A&M, like, okay, it makes sense, right? That's their regular rival. They don't want to lose out to these schools because they want to be better than them. But bringing up Jackson State, that was no accident. You know what I mean? That was no accident with him.
A little jab, little jab.
But like I said, once these schools start feeling threatened, you're gonna see it starts with one, and he's the biggest one. And I knew that was coming. I knew that they would start saying, wait a minute, they're getting the players that we're supposed to have, like they're just automatically entitled to it. And by the way, talking about HBCUs, Kentucky State University, hail to our alma mater, dear is her name. Anyway,
but you said this. We had a discussion, I think it was offline, on this whole thing. Maybe it was both.
Yeah.
But you said this specifically. You said this. I had to give you credit, man. Almost verbatim that it's actually coming true right now.
I said that they were going to start trying to pitch for rule changes, and oh no, we can't have this. Other people are benefiting. No, we don't want that. Give us our players. Give us our players back. Like, the question is, who is our? Who is our? Who?
Our, like you own players, it's like they are slaves to you. Oh, now I'm not gonna get into that.
I'm just saying how
I'm not getting into that.
Deion's statement was, we don't have to pay for our. See, that hour got used in there, that we don't have to pay for our own players. But it was interesting. And I mean, we just continue to go on this because this was my thing too. But I think it's about that time. We got myself here, we got Sadal there.
Yes.
But I think we ready to add in another person.
Somebody got some lotion for his internet.
Uh-oh. I think it's time to bring on Stanton.
Oh, there he is.
It's ashy no more. What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
Ashy no more.
Man, it is good to be back. It is good to be back. I've missed all y'all, and we about to get it.
And I'm gonna need you to put your right hand like up like this. Put that right hand up right there. Right, a little higher. A little higher. Little bit. All right, you tagged in. The host is there. There we go. Tag. I got the tag rope and everything. You know, we in.
I was so lost. I'm like, what's going on?
I'm like,
I can't
what's he
push
doing?
the screen up like that. Oh man,
he tagged you in, man.
He tagged me in. That was a good one. I like that. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to use that outside of here, but that's pretty cool. Hello, Miss Williams. How are you? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Stanton, the host with the most, and this, like this hasn't been said already, I'm gonna say it again. This is the Man Cave. You know, every last Wednesday of the month, the fellas come on and we just give our perspective. We just talk sports through our eyes, what we see. So that's what we're gonna do. I want to thank everybody for tuning in on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Roku, on Hot 365. I want to thank all y'all for tuning in. It is a pleasure to be here for you. We are your Wednesday night sports delight. And as always, the Man Cave is brought to you by the Platform Sports Talk Show. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on that bell so every time that we go live, you will be notified. I got my brothers here with me. I got T-Bone, who tagged me in, and I got Sadar the Selector here with me. I'm gonna start the whole show over, not for real though, but I'm just gonna say, what's the word? What's going on, fellas? How y'all been? What's going on? Has anyone been keeping up with the playoffs? I know I have. I believe they play in about 45 minutes.
Depends on the playoffs we're talking about. But you know what, Stanton?
Yes,
I noticed something because it just happened here, and I think I did it earlier. I think that, you know, even though it's the start of the show, I think we need to tell the people about what happens next week.
Yes, next week, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to kick it on over to the ladies, if I'm not mistaken, because every first Wednesday of the month is Ladies Night. I want to shout out Bunny. I want to shout out Joe. I want to shout out Annie, Sharita, Michaela, everyone who has contributed to the show and everyone that's been a guest. They come with it every first Wednesday. They are, I don't want to say they're our competition because it's all love here, but they definitely inspire us to keep up the morale, to keep the ante where it is. So they were here first, so they said it, and all we're doing is just trying to match the bar.
Yeah, as they say, ladies first.
Yes, that is what they say. All right, T-Bone, you on fire, brother.
Hey man, I have been playing a little NBA Jam from 1994. You know what I mean?
He's on fire.
Yeah, man. I got the. I don't know if y'all familiar with Retro Pie. Yeah, it has all of the Nintendo and Super Nintendo games. I got that on deck. And playing the old games there.
Well, I spent my weekend.
I'm not familiar with that.
I've heard it.
Yeah, it's a nerdy program where you can kind of play eventually any past video game on the little computer. Program it yourself.
Is it like how they had it set? Is it you play it on an emulator on the TV, or it's on?
Yeah, it's an emulator. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen one of those. My girlfriend has a Super Nintendo emulator. It's pretty cool.
I got a Super Nintendo, and a 64 emulator, man. Got all the games.
I just have the systems. Just have the old systems.
Yeah.
T-Bone trying to show off. I have the systems. Okay.
Oh, you got the actual system.
Yeah, he's showing off. He got the cartridge where you got to
blow in the cartridge.
Give it that good one.
You know what? Give a little pro tip out there. Don't do that. Actually, when we were kids, they always told us, don't use alcohol. That's going to mess them up. No, use alcohol. That's what we should have been using all along. When they had the NES cleaners, that's basically all it was. They just wanted to sell us something else that costs more than alcohol. So, yeah, use alcohol for the if you have Nintendo or Super Nintendo games. Sega games don't actually do it as much. I don't understand why, but yeah, you take a little Q-tip, a little alcohol, just do that. Let it dry out a little bit, put it in there. It's good to go.
All right. I wish I would have known that during my See, I had the Game Boy, so I had the handheld. That was my thing. I always loved handhelds, and I messed up a lot of cartridges. Now that I know by blowing on them, and a part of my childhood is like I feel whole as to know how that happened, but I'm still hurt. I was definitely dusting everybody in Mario Kart. Had them wheels. I had the wheel. I had the wheel from an early age, Sadal. Early age. Early
So,
age.
I don't know if you remember when we were in like 7th or 8th grade, like that's when I got my first Game Boy, and I wanted a Game Gear, so I got the Game Gear.
Mhm.
And then for Christmas, I also got a Game Com, which was bad decision, bad decision, terrible idea.
Was that the
But
connector piece?
no, the Game Com was like a Tiger Electronics, which should have been the
Yeah.
key to know. Don't buy it, because if you
Oh,
know,
not Tiger Electronics.
well, because if you know about those old Tiger games, like the little, little specks on the screen, like,
Yeah,
oh, this is a game. I don't really know if I'm doing. Am I winning? I think I am.
right. There ain't got no color to it. Just
Yeah. So they came out with a system. It was, I would believe it was Christmas of '97, because Batman and Robin came. The movie had come out, and that was a game that was a pack-in game for it, and it wasn't that good. Should have just spent the money on more Game Boy games and even Game Gear at that point. But
man, we talking sports, man. My favorite game of all time was a pack-in game. When I got my Super Nintendo in '94, it was called the Home Run Bundle. It came with Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball, the very first one. And man, I played for hours and hours and hours on that game, man. And I got it on the emulator.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So dope.
My one of my first games that I had on my Game Boy was the WWE game. They made a game for the Game Boy. It had
Attitude,
classic stars. The Survivor Series game.
Oh,
This was like 2000, early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Like within the first half of the 2000s. So that was one of the first games I played. And it had the the classic bit music. And it's just funny that was the way I heard a lot of wrestlers' themes for the first time. And I had no clue what they were. I had no clue what they sounded like in real life. I thought they sounded like that in real life until I heard it, and I was like, "Oh, they have words and they make sense." So I was. It's just a nostalgic feel. My favorite character to play with was Rey Mysterio, because that was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, and the Undertaker would always kick my butt.
Sounds about right.
Speaking of wrestling, T-Bone, it's been a lot going on in the wrestling world, kind of, sort of, but not really. But yeah, you want to go ahead and get into that? You want to slide on into that wrestling?
I mean, what do you have?
Slide in. Go ahead and plug your go ahead and plug the promotion.
Oh, well, you know what? HBCW will be returning August 20th and 21st at the Orange County Convention Center as part of the Florida Kids and Family Expo. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening out there, but I know for a lot of people listening, that's not so local, and I don't see people flying in for that. But if you happen to be in the Orlando area, August 20th and 21st, step on by to the Orange County Convention Center. If you live in St. Louis, it's almost like going to the America Center at the Dome, or no, just the America Center, not the Dome. Just So they have all kinds of things. They have all types of cars, unique cars and stuff that kids can go into. We're going to be having matches throughout the weekend. Lots of different activities, lots of fun zones and stuff like that. But so that'll be happening, and then for the weeks following, we'll be having some matches that'll be posted so that people can see all the action from that weekend. But as far as wrestling goes, I mean, there's been a lot of stuff. There's been a lot of rumor and innuendo. There's been a lot of things happening. Sasha Banks and Naomi, I think, has been probably the largest thing. Well, actually, they were the largest story as far as them walking out on Raw. I'm not here to pick sides on anything or say who I think did what or anything like that, but I do recognize, like, hey, listen, if you have a job and somebody tells you something and you don't like what they said, you do not have to stick around and deal with it. So, and I've always been an advocate for that one way or another, whether we talking about wrestling or anything else. And then a few days later, Stephanie McMahon decided to or announced that she was taking a leave of absence. And there's always speculation anytime somebody that high up in the company does something like, what's going on? Are there problems? Is there a sale happening? Maybe she just wanted to take some time off. I'm not here to speculate. So, yeah, Stanton, what else? What else you heard? What else you heard around the world of wrestling lately?
Well, first and foremost, because he requires this, and I will admit it, he is my tribal chief. Happy birthday to Roman Reigns. I acknowledge you. Anyway, you know, the thing that I've been noticing when I see the social media shots of the wrestling shows, those crowds are I know that it's been a thing, but to see it now, the crowds are a little on the light side. You
I
know?
wouldn't really worry too much about that. And I understand why you would, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. Just because when you're talking about these weekly TV shows, like, I mean, the crowds are really just props, right? I mean, they're just a prop. So you only need the crowd to be where the camera's going to be. As long as you can fill the area where the camera's shooting, it's not that big a deal. And keep in mind, like nowadays, compared to the 90s or even the early 2000s, like the tickets cost way more now than they did back then.
Yeah. I part of the reason I bring that up is there was a report that came out stating that WWE has been using old clips of fans in new video collections, and
Yeah.
I just think that is, I don't understand why they would have to do that. Me personally, there are enough angles that you can get at a live show or at a recording or at one of the live televised shows to fill that in. It was so bad that they're saying that some people recognize the Brock Lesnar guy back when they showed him in 2012.
I think
From
it was the Brock Lesnar guy that recognized himself. I said I think it was the Brock Lesnar guy that recognized himself.
Oh, that's not good. I mean, that's good, but that's not good, if that makes sense. But if you see yourself and it was like, hey, I haven't been there in that shirt in a while. He actually shifted over to AEW for a hot minute. I don't know if you guys saw him. I saw him. But would you say that with AEW's acquisition of Ring of Honor and AEW themselves, with it being a split audience within all three of these promotions, could WWE's time at the top, not anytime soon, but somewhere in the future? You're saying no? You don't even know what my question was going to be.
The answer is going to be no either way.
What if I said, will they be able to maintain their dominance?
What? That wasn't where you were going with that question.
I know, but you said it's going to be no either way. Third way. Anyway, yeah. You say you think or they'll be able to do fine?
Wait, can you repeat that?
With AEW, Ring of Honor, I'll throw TNA, Impact, whatever it's called.
Ring of Honor's not a company. I said Ring of Honor's not a company. It's a subsidiary.
Well, yeah. Yes, with the acquisition. I'm just saying with the different programs to watch and different events to attend, do you think that WWE will be able to maintain like their not to, use one of their wrestlers, but their mountain of relevancy?
Okay, so here's what I would say about WWE compared to the differences between WWE and AEW. The other ones, they don't matter. Impact isn't going to be a factor. Impact is like the RC Cola of wrestling.
Oh, damn.
So it's there. It's going to be there, but if you're talking about the top companies, it's not relevant. So the WWE is a business to business organization. AEW is not. So the WWE is a company that depends on other businesses wanting to do business with them, and that's pretty much how they make their money. That's when you're talking about TV rights. You got Fox and Peacock or the NBC wanting to work with them. You got streaming services wanting to work with them. People want to distribute their product because they can get money off of that product. It's valuable. It's worth something. AEW is not quite that. AEW had to deal with somebody who they were able to work out a deal with. That person's no longer there. And at the upfronts, what was it, last week? The upfronts are basically the thing that they have. It's the trade show where the networks and TV companies show what their new programming is going to look like, so they can sell advertising up front instead of waiting, right? So AEW, people were talking about, oh, they're going to have this big presence there, and they have in the past. And this year they did not. They were downplayed a lot compared to it, which makes sense to me, because when you look at some of the stuff on the programming, and this isn't me to hate on the wrestlers, but it's more to look at the business practices and just analyze it and just say, like, listen, if I'm Lexus, or I'm Honda, or Toyota, or Ford, whatever, am I going to want to look at what AEW has as a sample and say, oh, look at this guy jumping recklessly off this 15-foot high ladder in the ring onto 8 steel folding chairs and a person? Yeah, that's something that I think people who would buy my cars would think is entertaining. So yeah, or would you want people who think that that's necessarily entertaining? A guy almost breaking his neck in his back, or people going and like when they had the Domino's incident with the pizza cutter and all that stuff. Like, no, why? That's not something that these advertisers are going to want to see. So if you're talking about it, you look at a company and you say, okay, well, WWE is doing stuff in this period of time to make sure that they're having good business relationships and is a company that businesses would want to see, versus a company that's not doing that. WWE is not going to have a problem selling, because if people want to advertise on a wrestling show, that's the wrestling show they're going to choose, because the other companies haven't quite figured out how to, get that business, get other businesses to want to invest in them, as opposed to going to companies and, yeah, they have action figures, but maybe we should ask the question of who makes AEW's action figures, or who's paying for AEW's action figures? Is it the company going to AEW wanting to make a deal with them, or is it AEW going to this other company to have them make action figures where AEW gets the worst part of the deal? It's that way. So, as far as WWE, as long as they can produce content, they're going to be fine. Content that other businesses want to invest in. So that's the long-winded answer.
All right, Sadal, what about you? What do you say?
I mean, WWE, T-Bone said it all. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly with what he said. WWE is been the flagship. It's been the promotion that's on top for many years, has a long track record and tradition and history. It's going to be hard to knock that off. And if you think about what happened in the 90s, it was a whole different climate, a whole different culture with TV leading the way. Not so much right now in 2022. It's social media right now. But it's just, I kind of equate it to Michael Jordan's shoe. Michael Jordan has been, retired for like 20 years or so, but his shoe is selling because it has a long track record. It's still relevant in the culture, and it still sells. That's just what WWE is right now.
Okay. You said WWE.
You're looking at a company that's about to put together 3 stadium shows in a period of like 3 or 4 months. they're not having real problems. You know what I mean?
That is true. That is true. WWE Sadal, like you said, does know how to sell. Speaking of selling, you all know one of probably the greatest wrestlers of all time, / one of the biggest box office sellers of all time. As Sadal would call him, maybe or maybe not, an old timer. Would you deem him an old timer? I feel like you know who I'm talking about.
Mm-mm. Who?
What?
The Rock?
Would you deem him an old timer?
Oh,
It's hard to say.
look at that! Look at that! Wait a minute! Oh, look at your
To
stuff.
say he's a hard timer, old timer.
I mean,
he
well,
He
said-
doesn't look. He doesn't look like an old timer.
He ain't. Wait a minute. You say the same thing. You can't be changing the criteria now. Well, he hasn't wrestled full time in years upon years, and he's older. That's what you say normally. I can tell you an old timer that I do agree with you about. Which if you want to talk about that story after this, but yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Oh man, I really don't want to talk about that story. It was one of those where I scratched my head and said, "Oh my god!" But you know, we'll get to that soon. But The Rock, it has been announced that his schedule is open in early 2023, meaning that for WrestleMania, should they do it, The Rock is available for a family affair. I'm talking The Rock versus Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Heavyweight Championship.
I think at this point, yeah. I don't know. I think at this point, who else is going to fight Roman Reigns?
I mean,
Who else is going to fight him?
I mean, they could draw the Cody story. First of all, I don't think it'll be for the undisputed title at that point. It'll be for one of them. I think that he's going to lose one of them at some point before then. But I mean, Cody could be an option. I mean, they're building Cody up. They have a story. They have a pretty good story. And compared to where you are with the wrestling wars, as people call them now, you have a guy who was a founder of another company, said a lot of disparaging remarks. He was the leader, and now he's back with WWE. If you want to show to AEW talent that, hey, guys, we can make sure that you that you can be big stars over here if you come sign with us. You put Cody in the main event of WrestleMania, and he wins. That sends that signal just fine.
Yeah, but I see that more like a SummerSlam matchup.
It likely will. I'm just saying, if something happened where they knew The Rock couldn't be there, they could drag that out as a number 2 item.
Yeah,
that would solve the problem of the part timers that people talk about, because Cody's there full time.
True. All right.
It makes sense. I think if they do a similar, well, no, this is for the title. You're talking about for a title. It would have to be non-title. But if they do it similar to what they did with Austin, I think they did a good job. The way they handled the Austin situation. So if they do it similar to that, I would wouldn't mind seeing that. Just a one-off.
I think the Rock's thing is going to be more of a. I mean, yeah, it probably will be it won't be. You'll probably get the promos from the Rock leading up to it. Unlike Austin gave the one promo from the desert somewhere, but you probably more likely get a lot of in-ring stuff from the Rock as far as promos go. But it'll be interesting to see. Have no problem with that one.
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in seeing that as well.
See, I'm not as rigid as you may think about this.
I just
when they drag it on. If they drag it on to now, you got to go to Saudi Arabia with it. Then you got to go to the Money in the Bank. Then you got to go to
this goes back to what I said specifically about WWE being a business-to-business operation. If Saudi Arabia, well, let me ask you, If Saudi Arabia said, "Hey, Sadal, I got 50 million for you if you bring The Rock and the rest of the guys, 50 million," what do you? Assuming you were doing business with them and had no problem doing business with them, you telling me, I'm sorry, guys, for my creative thoughts. You're gonna George Costanza this one? You're gonna say, "Nah, guys, I that's not what I think," and we'll go home.
As a business, yeah, but
That's
as a
cool.
fan, I don't want to see it.
Well, they got a fiduciary responsibility to make money, so
Yeah, I mean, hey, you got to make your money. So I'm not telling them not to make money. I'm just saying my thoughts on it. I don't want to see it.
But see, here's my thing about that.
They don't need my money.
But as a fan, though, you don't have to watch just because they do something. If you don't want to watch it, you don't have to watch it.
And I don't. I haven't been watching wrestling for like 3 years until this last WrestleMania.
Like I pick and choose what I watch. If I don't want to watch it, I'm not going to be offended if they do it, though.
I'm not offended. I just don't want to see it, and I won't. You know.
So when I brought it up, I just didn't know what your age range of old timers was. I didn't know if it was an age thing or years removed
it's
from the
situational.
ring.
It's situational. I mean,
Pick and chooses his favorites.
No, it's not that.
Austin ain't wrestled in 20 years. I don't know. Well, it was kind of good. I enjoyed it. The Rock, I wouldn't say he's an old timer, even though he wrestled in the same era as Austin and hasn't wrestled full time in almost 18 years.
He did wrestle John Cena.
That's not full time.
I know.
That is not full time.
That
was once a
He
year.
did wrestle.
He wrestled 5 times in a 2-year period.
He had 365 days to
God bless him. He's not like the Undertaker, where they was just dragging the man out just for one match after the other.
He was only out there once or twice a year. Don't exaggerate. Don't be fair.
It was the hips.
Hey, look, the years when he was fighting Brock Lesnar, like the SummerSlam match, that stuff was great. I can't lie.
It should have ended when he lost to Brock Lesnar.
You didn't see the
I can't say that. That double pop up where they both started laughing. That's a
great meme. It's a great meme, but
it was a good. I mean, that's the thing. Like the WrestleMania match was out of the matches that he had that year. That was what 2014, Well, he came back. It was 2015 when they had the matches. Out of the matches that he had with Brock Lesnar, the WrestleMania one was the worst one. The ones after that, the Hell in a Cell, the SummerSlam, those were the better ones.
I'll take your word for it because that's when I stopped watching it.
Oh man,
fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna keep in track with old timers. T-Bone, you had a story that when I read it, I shook my head. Would you like to share that with the people?
Well, listen. So this is not a WWE story. This is just a story that came out that Ric Flair, apparently looking to rehab his name, is going to have one last match. He's trying to compete with Terry Funk for the most retirement matches.
You got to be kidding me.
Well, it's not a WWE. Well, see, wait a minute. So you don't follow independent wrestling, do you?
I don't, but still.
But see,
man, come on, Ric Flair is like in his 70s, yo. Come on, man.
Well, see, I say that
on his second heart,
and again, I'm not necessarily.
Oh Lord,
I'm not for this one. I'm not necessarily for this one myself, except it's kind of hard for me to be against it, even though I am. But Jerry Lawler had a heart attack on national television and has been wrestling still consistently ever since that happened, and he's around the same age as Ric Flair. Maybe
it don't mean that he should be doing that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying about independent wrestling though is that they're not going to be doing the same stuff that you would see them do on a regular, like if they're trying to prepare for like a main event WWE match. Like it's not the same. It's more fun and interaction with the crowd. But Ric Flair, I have hesitations with because one, he hasn't actively been doing it to know that this is something that's like, hey, he's just going to know what to do, because Ric Flair's never really been an independent wrestler. Like, he's wrestled for major companies. Even with Crockett was a major company at the time. I mean, it was a territory, but it was a large territory.
Hey, could you enlighten us? Like, I don't I'm not trying to be funny, but I don't know what the difference is between the aspects of working for a promotion and an independent. Like, what's the difference?
So if you're watching television, right, you have an expectation of what it is. I can't figure out what that notification is, by the way. I've tried to turn them all off, and it's still a mystery when that keeps popping up. Sorry about that. But if you're watching main event or WWE television, that's what you call TV ready, right? You're out there, you're trying to do big things for the crowd. You're trying to, you may have to go for a pay-per-view. You might have to go 15 minutes for the people to feel like they got their money's worth and stuff like that. But even with WWE, like with house shows are completely different than television matches, because they're not constrained on that time where there has to be so much stuff that's packed into that short amount of time, and so much stuff has to happen. Like an independent match, you might play with the crowd. You know what I mean? Like you wrestle, you do some things, but then you might interact with the crowd a lot more than you would if it was on, WWE television, as an example. Those are little things that you can do where it's the smoke and mirrors aspect of it. Like, okay, people are just happy to see this person. People who've never seen this person in live person, they go and see that person. They're going to be entertained in a different way than people who are spending, hundreds and hundreds of dollars for, well, who knows what they're actually paying for Ric Flair, but it's just a different experience. Like, think about it like, your musicians that are doing something for the Grammys, right? You have musicians that are performing on national television for the Grammys, and then they have a thing where they might be doing it at a local theater somewhere. It's just a different experience.
Gotcha.
Okay, I thank you for that clarification. One last thing I wanted to touch on.
By the way, it's a 6-man tag. It's a 6-man tag. So again, he has a lot more room to not have to do anything, for people to just be happy to see him more so than anything.
Okay, so now it's starting. Okay.
I forgot
to sound a little better. He's not just out there just.
And he's teaming with FTR, by the way. So if there's any team, the former Revival. So if there's any team that I'd be, basically they're like the modern day Arn and Tug.
Oh, you remember the guy with the handlebar mustache? And they came out in the jackets. This was before you stopped watching.
I don't know who they are, man.
We'll find the picture.
Maybe.
Little fight going on here. I'm trying not to say the score of this game because I don't want to speak it into existence.
It's that bad, huh?
No. I just don't want it to be.
No.
Oh, man. Well, I believe we should just go ahead and get into talking about it. Since it's happening.
I mean, we might as well,
I believe the T-Bone is speaking on those good old NHL playoffs. It's hockey talk, ladies and gentlemen. T-Bone, take it away, good sir. Let us know what's going on the ice.
Well, if you're a St. Louis fan and you were watching the other day, probably wasn't the best day, but we'll go ahead and, we'll talk about the brackets. Now, last week, as we were watching the show, there was some developments going on. So, we, while the show was going on last week, the Lightning were actually facing the Florida Panthers. And this is in the East. And actually, we saw the breath come out of the Panthers at the end of the game when the Lightning scored with like 3 seconds left. So basically, the Lightning have gone ahead and advanced. Lightning have advanced into the semifinals. Oh, sorry. And so next we had the Rangers, and who did the Rangers face? That logo is not. It's not helping me right now. Stanton. It's no anybody. Help me out here.
The Hurricanes?
I'm gonna say
Yes.
it's the Hurricane.
Yes,
It looks
couldn't
like
get it out.
Hurricane's
Couldn't quite get it.
How
But,
do you
You
see
live
on
in
my
Florida?
face? But it looks like a hurricane. It looks dangerous.
They're tied 2-2 right now. So, they I think that they play tomorrow. Yeah, they play tomorrow. So, we'll see what happens with that one. But going on over to the West, we have we have Calgary and the Oilers. Oilers are up 3-1. But hey, you know what? It is quite possible that a team can come back from 3-1, or at least that's what I'm hoping. Still holding out a little bit of hope.
They will.
But, well, not if the way things are going right now. But
now I'm scared to see the score.
so anyway, going on over to what I would consider the
that
main
good, it
event,
ain't
we
good.
have the Blues, and they have definitely been getting the Avalanche because the Avalanche are up right now 3-1 in the series. Currently, right now, as we speak, I guess I'll say the score one time. They are actually up 2-0. I believe they just scored on a power play while we were going over the brackets. But you know what? The other night, the Blues, they wound up in a little situation. As a matter of fact, before last night, in Game 3, I believe it was, Bennington went down. For those that don't know, he's the goalie. Once he went down, that kind of opened up everything for the Avalanche to take over on the Blues. Going back to the first game, the Avalanche were like shooting, a lot compared to how much they were actually, scoring. And, for me, it seemed like the Blues were showing them, especially Bennington, because he was having a pretty good game, showing them like, hey, look, it's going to take everything you got to score on me. So they wound up winning that game. But or I think that was game 2 actually. But they wound up the Avalanche wound up winning that game, but it seemed like it took a lot for them to do it. But then in game 3, Bennington went down, and the Avalanche basically took over. And once he went down, the Blues were trying, but it seems like the Blues have just been off. Just watching it over the past few days. I've only been watching them actively for like the past 2 months to see this team, and it seems like something's off with the Blues. Like even whether they're just in the regular game, when they're passing, everything just seems to be off compared to what it was towards the end of the season when everything seemed to be gelling and clicking, and they were just kind of scoring, and everybody on the team was basically scoring. And now those scores are limited to only a couple people here and there. So, the game the other day. In the first period, the Blues scored. Second period, the Avalanche scored like 3 or 4 goals, like all within a very short period of time. Like one of them was in like a matter of seconds between each other, and it just seemed like the breath was coming out of the Blues for that game. But then even in the second period, I was telling everybody in the group chat, I said, you know what? If they can score two, they can come back. And they scored their 2 goals before the end of the second period. So the score wound up being, I think it was 4-3 at that time. And, the third period, things just got away from the Blues and didn't quite work out. So, right now, the end of the period is coming, end of the first is coming, and it's still 2-0 Avalanche. So we'll see. Hopefully the Blues will come back in this game. But if they didn't, you know what? For me, seeing them actively for the past couple months, I've enjoyed seeing them, and hopefully everything will, carry over to the next season.
Question, T-Bone. Now, I've heard a buzz about there was something about one of the Avalanche players needing protection from the St. Louis Police Department.
Well,
what's going on with that? And it had to be surrounding the Bennington situation.
I didn't see the game before. I didn't see all of it, so I didn't know if he's the one that took him out. But I think it was Kadri. I think he was in the last game a couple days ago. There was a situation that happened where basically the Blues looked like they were fed up, and I think he slammed somebody into the wall, and next thing you know, somebody was on the ground punching him in the face. And but then that didn't even quite work out because I was like, okay, this might be the turning point. And then the Blues wound up, or the Avalanche had that power play, and then he wound up scoring he wound up scoring a goal like right after the power play was over. And the Blues survived a 5-on-3 power play, and then like 2 or 3 seconds after, like right when people were getting on the ice, like he went and scored like right after that. So it was kind of like he was sticking it to the Blues. And then, people were hot, so he had to have some protection. That was definitely Kadri who that happened to. Stuff happens. People take it personally. And it looked like everybody was taking it personal in that situation because those were hands that was being thrown.
All right.
Stan, you muted.
Thank you. From what I saw, there were death threats, racist messages. It was, we are a very passionate sports fan base of a town. But the actions that were demonstrated, though they do not surprise me, they are still unacceptable. And I apologize on behalf of my city for the way that they took this game. At the end of the day, that's what it is. They took this game too far. That was definitely uncalled for. And I believe that with the names of those people, because that information could very well be given, and legal action could and probably should be taken. So I believe that will be necessary because you're threatening an individual, and you can seek legal action over that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The only thing with hockey that I still don't understand, and don't get me wrong, it's fun watching it. I don't understand how people are getting literally punched in the face and all they get is a penalty box. If that happened in the NFL, they'd be ejected, thrown out.
That is very true.
I just don't.
Ask Myles Garrett. He actually hit somebody with a helmet.
Oh, I remember that. They were getting ready to get rid of him for the whole season, weren't they?
Yeah. Well, they did for the rest of the season.
Oh no, I thought
he claimed that Rudolph called him a racial slur in the snap.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And believe me, when I say punched in the face, I don't mean like kinda sorta. I mean on the ground, mounting him, punching him in the face. And
or as they used to say back in the day, stole him in his jaw.
Yes.
Stole him in the jaw.
He got the 2-piece and the biscuit, okay? But
with the side with the side drink.
And 2 apple pies.
Like you see the marks on his face, and I'm like, okay, sometimes they get into issues, a little tussle here or there. I don't like you, the hockey fight. No, he was like right on him. I was like, that might be a little
contact.
Is that a suspension? And it's like penalty box, 2 minutes. Oh,
just to blow off some steam.
I know a kid one time who may have pushed the kid down some steps, thought he was going to get suspended and only got a demerit. I'd like to send a thank you to Miss Farini for that. Anyway.
Sound like you
wait a minute. Sound like you know that kid very, very well.
Well.
Oh man.
Those were the days. Anyway,
NFL.
Anywho, let's go ahead and slide into football, where tackling and pushing was allowed. I just want to hop right into it, guys. One of the things that we look forward to the least, the Pro Bowl game, Pro Bowl weekend. From the mouth of Roger Goodell, quote: "The game just doesn't work." So, in an excerpt from the conversation he had with the Players Association, he said, and I quote, "I think the conclusion," that felt very Michael Cole-ish. I didn't like that. He said this following statement: "I think the conclusion was that the game itself doesn't work and that we needed to find a different way to celebrate our players. celebrate the fact that these, being our Pro Bowl players, are the best players in the league, and also give them an opportunity to celebrate that with our fans. So, Doll, I'm going to start with you, lover of football, specifically college football, which has always played better in college.
Yes.
I had to do it. So, first, were you a fan of the Pro Bowl games, and what do you think can be an alternate method to celebrate these players?
It's the Pro Bowl is over. It's done. No one watches the Pro Bowl. And I'm really not sure what a good alternative would be. You can do a skills challenge. I mean, that worked out pretty good. For a few years when they had did the different players going against each other, in the passing and like the drills and the things like that. Maybe like an annual 40-yard dash, get the fastest players and see who's the fastest man in the NFL. I know they used to do it way back in the day in the 70s. When they used to do that. I remember in the 80s, Darryl Green winning that every year. Played for the former Washington Redskins, now Commanders. But they can do some kind of skills challenge, but a game with this day and age of how much money is being thrown around to the players, and players simply, and rightfully so, not saying, you know what, I'm not getting out there to risk my health. I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to get my next paycheck, my next payday. Maybe they can do like some kind of a, football style obstacle course or something like that, kind of like the NBA skills challenge. That's all I was saying. Yeah.
I got
but one. The Pro Bowl game is over. It's done. Can't do it. Especially the nature of football, the way it's played. It won't really do it justice, because if you really want to see a game, they have to go all out, and they're not going to go all out for exhibition.
Man, I remember there's a clip that always gets shown every Pro Bowl weekend. I don't know who the defensive player was. I want to go out on a limb and say it was Lawrence Taylor, who smacked the mess out of some quarterback during the Pro Bowl. Like he was
Sean Taylor.
Sean Taylor, thank you. I knew it was
the late great Sean Taylor.
Smacked him. And since then, I haven't seen a Pro Bowl game as electric, as entertaining. Two-hand touch is what I'm looking at. That's what I
think the last great thing that happened was an interview that Peyton Manning made where he was talking about his kicker. He's like, our idiot kicker, missed the field goal. And basically he was cut that off season. Talking about one Vanderjack. He used to play for the Colts.
Oh man.
Yeah, and he was bad mouthing this kicker and got him basically cut. But that was it. That was the highlight. But I like the skills challenge. If they can just keep that as skills challenge, they can still come out to, a remote location like Hawaii or Florida or something like that, somewhere warm. Do the skills challenge, do a little exhibition for the crowd, something that's non-contact, 40-yard dash, obstacle course, quarterback challenge. You remember the old quarterback challenges?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do that. But yeah.
Looks like we got a comment.
We do. Miss Williams.
Yeah,
love Miss Williams. Says, I thought the Pro Bowl was better when it was held after the Super Bowl. I agree. As it is, the best players usually aren't there because they will be playing in the Super Bowl and don't want to get hurt. I also agree. You'll notice that I believe once they switched it, they didn't allow the Super Bowl teams to play. Like they would get the votes and things like, yeah, you're a Pro Bowl member.
But to me, that's good. They're the main event. They're the main event. You don't want them in the undercard.
But it was,
imagine getting hurt in the Pro Bowl and you the quarterback and you getting ready the next week, getting ready to play the Super Bowl, and you get hurt in the Pro Bowl.
But there is a simple solution to this. Simple. What is something that is a sport, if people want to call it that is emerging, that has so much money being poured into it by a lot of investors these days? Any guesses?
Soccer. No. Yes. Rugby.
Maybe true. There's another one. That's something that all of us, we talked about a little bit of this earlier in the show. Something that people do in their free time a lot. And it's also become a sport. Video games, esports, right?
Esports.
Now you have esports that's out here that's emerging. What is one of the things that the NFL wants to keep doing? People talk about demographics and the people watching the game. We want to make sure we're reaching that younger audience. It would make more sense for me for the Pro Bowl to, instead of being a regular game, partner up with the esports league and have a Pro Bowl, basically a simulated Pro Bowl, and display what that actually looks like. Because to me, that's a win for the NFL, because you're capturing this demographic that might not necessarily be watching. It's a way to get people talking about that. Have the esports showing off what their games look like when people are actually playing them. And you can make this interactive, because you can have some players there might be some players who are into games, and maybe even when they're playing the game, play it as the players who would have been selected to the Pro Bowl, or have the people selected into the Pro Bowl, playing the games, with people. But you can make that an interactive thing. You can do a sweepstakes where you have a fan where they can participate, and they can come out there and play along with the players or whatever. Do something like that to where it shows off something else. You're not putting anybody in physical danger. It's a good interactive thing. You can have like your Pro Bowl convention out there, and that can be like the main main attraction of that convention.
That'll be like a great addition to all of the skills challenge. I mean, that's the way you can do it.
I'm saying you can put that in that TV time slot.
Mm-hmm.
You're showing all the interaction. You're showing the players' reactions. You're showing the game being played. You're showing the reactions of the teams. Like, to me, like, show it like you would, like if this was an actual esports thing. Because I've never watched it, but I've never had a reason to watch esports. But you put that on, I might be intrigued.
I think that's a good idea. And make it a multi-night event, and those skills challenges, you can put them on prime time and make it like similar to the NBA. What the NBA does, and maybe have like the highlight of the whole thing as the fastest man in the NFL. Because if you look at the NFL draft, combine, what's the biggest highlight of the combine? It's the 40-yard dash. Everybody wants to come out to see who's going to be the fastest, right? Well, put the two fastest guys in the NFL head to head, and let's see who's the fastest. You know what I mean? And I mean, if they work it correctly, it can really be a successful night, and it'll be a hell of a lot successful than the Pro Bowl.
I like that. I like everything that I've heard, fellas. T-Bone, I want to, if you would allow, I want to add something on to the e-gaming side. I want to add something to that. I feel like, yes, I like the idea of having a fan sweepstakes to be able to play in as well. I feel that they should gather, say about 10 of the top like e-sports players, and have like a draft. So that way, if you get a player who's, in the Pro Bowl, but they're not a gamer, they can have somebody take their spot, someone that's efficient in the game, just something to further integrate the two worlds. And then maybe, who knows, Madden in the metaverse. Ooh, did I say something?
Now, see, here's the thing. I haven't bought a video game system since the PS3, but has the online game evolved to the point where all the positions can be played by somebody?
Yes. Yeah, they've got I think it's up to either 8 to 10 players that can be in an online session and they can control all the positions.
So yeah, I mean, I would.
Outside of like the offensive and defensive line.
So I would take like 5 players. 5. You'd have your 5 starting. So however you can divide that up, you would have your esports teams, right? They would be competing or whatever. And even if you did a draft of the top ones, that would be like a crossover event where you could do that, because again, the national audience isn't going to know most of those esports players, but you can do a crossover event where you bring in NFL people over to that. Again, give people a way to watch their stuff. You're doing a cross collaboration where you're putting people eyes on the esports. You bring in more eyes or different sets of eyes to the NFL, and you do the draft on one, you do the NFL draft on the other, while incorporating aspects of both. And then you do a mix and match, so you don't have all the NFL players playing all the positions, but the teams that are the actual teams that are actually in the actual game, like the video game, put that as who the Pro Bowlers would actually be. So you take those people, and then it could be a mix of, they can tag in, tag out, however. I think that's an evolution.
Or you can do it like pro-am style, like golf, where you can pair a gaming pro with a pro bowler and do a tournament style, like duo, and go tournament style and see who will win, and do it that way as well. That might work, and that'll be a great way to feature both worlds.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. One player who, since he's technically not active, but he's not retired. One player who I'd like to see not make a comeback to play, but potentially just be there as a guest to probably play, because I know he'd be entertaining on the mic, is Marshawn Lynch.
I knew you were going to say that.
I'd love to see that. Speaking of Marshawn, let me take you all back to that infamous Super Bowl. Super Bowl 49. You all remember the Super Bowl. The Patriots, the Seahawks.
1 yard
line.
Should have ran.
Should have ran. Yes. Did you all know that after that play, Marshawn Lynch blatantly laughed in Pete Carroll's face? Well, excuse me, right before the play. So
I believe it.
Marshawn Lynch recently did an interview with Kevin Hart on one of his web shows, Cold as Balls. And they brought up the infamous choice to pass instead of run. And Marshawn Lynch said, when I was pulled from the field, I looked at Pete Carroll like, yo, what's going on? I laughed in his face and said, what the expletive, in only true Marshawn Lynch fashion. I just find that funny, because that's a true testament to his character, one. And it's like he knew, I don't want to say he knew that wouldn't end well, but what he did know is that it could have ended better if he would have ran the ball. So here we are, years removed, and I asked this question with an astounding answer that I'm anticipating. Do you believe that Pete Carroll should have indeed run the ball?
100%. 100% should have ran, man. If you would have saw that, I remember the game. Fun fact, I've never missed a Super Bowl since Super Bowl 25. I remember that they were driving down the field, and they had just made a spectacular catch, one of those catches that they could have been talking about in Super Bowl history, like the Tyree Hill, the Tyree helmet catch.
Yeah.
They made a similar catch in that game, and they were running. I mean, they could not stop Marshawn. They couldn't stop him. He was just running them over. All they had to do was give it to him one more time. It was like one more swing of the axe, and the whole wall would have crumbled down. And they chose to be fancy.
They chose to throw a bow.
And I remember the game. I didn't want either team to win. I wish the doggone Super Bowl was canceled or something. Something happened because I hated the Patriots and the Seahawks. But I didn't know whether to laugh or be mad at what happened. It was unbelievable.
Right.
But yeah, they should have ran.
T-Bone, what say ye?
They should have run. I mean, they should have run. I mean, there's no real question about it. I mean, that's your best option, as far as at the time. I mean, they were known for Marshawn Lynch. I can't remember who the wide receivers were necessarily at the time. I know that they obviously had some good wide receivers, but your best player at the time was Marshawn Lynch. It would have made sense for either him to run or Russell Wilson to run. One of the two should have run, but your best option would have been Marshawn Lynch. But I guess that they were scared, so that's all I can think of.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to get to a question that Miss Williams had when we were speaking on the esports crossover. She said, would you get enough new younger viewers to offset folks from my generation who are unlikely to watch?
I think if you make it a 2-night event, do maybe like the Saturday night, all of the video game, action there, and then like that Sunday night, where you would usually have the Pro Bowl, have the skills challenge night, and go through it, quarterback challenge, all of that, and then cap it off with the 40-yard dash. I think you would get viewers from both sides.
Well,
and promote it right.
But if you did esports, and this is not to take away from any generation, because this is not how I value things. This is more looking at advertisers' dollars or how the sports look at things. But if they want to get young people, and the priority is to get that younger people invested in the NFL, your biggest time frame to do that would be, that Super Bowl. Once you're into those playoffs, into the Super Bowl, when you have the most buzz. So even if older people, or even us, like even if we're not watching it, if they get those 15, 16, 17-year-old people to watch, that's a win for them, because that's more of them that they can get in for the future, right? I mean, they already have us watching. We're most likely going to watch the Super Bowl. Miss Williams, I'm not sure, but I would imagine that you would probably watch the Super Bowl if given the opportunity, if you didn't have anything else to do. So, I mean, we're already hooked. They need to hook the next generation.
Like I said, I haven't missed the Super Bowl since Super Bowl 25.
Yeah. And then Miss Williams said, I think 25. Okay. I think the simplest solution is to move the Pro Bowl back to the original spot after the Super Bowl. I wasn't calling age at all. I was just saying that's a lot of Super Bowls.
That was when In Living Color did the halftime show.
That was the Wide Right game.
Yeah.
Yep. Man. That was the next year, I think it was.
No, they did it. They did it in 91 too, because In Living Color debuted in 1990. Super Bowl 25 was the Bills and the Giants.
Yes.
So yeah,
it was before, because fun fact on that, the Living Color clowned them, and then the next year, the Super Bowl, they brought in Michael Jackson and shut everybody up. The next year.
That was 2 years. Well, no, the year you're talking about is when because that's when they started doing the thing where people would switch the channel. Because I believe this one, the 1991 Super Bowl was on ABC, so that's why they were getting people to switch the channel.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, it was on CBS. That's the one you're talking about, because they were trying to get people to turn away from CBS. And then in 93, it was on NBC, and NBC was like, oh, well, we got something for that. Because In Living Color was more popular than I think people even realized at first.
And the league wanted to really shut them, like, nah, you ain't going to turn away from no Michael Jackson. And boom.
Can't turn away from the king of pop. But let's get back to Ms. Williams. She was saying that she believes that the Pro Bowl should be moved back to the original spot, which was after the Super Bowl. And then she also said, then the best players will be available and folks will watch because they know it's the last chance to see NFL until the next season. And I'm glad she said NFL because if she would have said football, we got all
the only thing about that though is that one, even when the Super Bowl was, or even when the Pro Bowl was after the Super Bowl, some players were still taking that off regardless. And two, for me, what's your best game going to be in theory? Is it going to be the Super Bowl or is it going to be the Pro Bowl? I think the last image of the season that you want people to see is the biggest game, the biggest spectacle, and just that big celebration of the NFL. I would do that more so. If anything, I would put the Pro Bowl maybe in the middle of the season, but I wouldn't put it. And even that's hard to do in the middle of the season. It's only 17 games, but putting it afterwards, it just doesn't. I don't think that the viewership was particularly high, except for the fact that there was less channels at that point when we were watching stuff in the 90s and 2000s. Well, 2000s is when things changed, but
I think that's a great point, T-Bone, and that's exactly why they moved it to where they moved it right to today. It's because they want the big coup de grace to be the Super Bowl. It's the crown jewel of the NFL, Super Bowl. They want the last image to be that team hoisting up the Lombardi Trophy, fade to black. They don't want it, their last image of half the players coming in for a Pro Bowl, which nobody, like you said, nobody is going to play that game. Look, if I'm a star athlete and I'm waiting for my next contract, getting fighting with the team owners to get that next contract, and off season's coming up, I turn my ankle in the Pro Bowl trying to run a route. Oh no, you hurt. You ain't gonna pay you. I'm not gonna play. So yeah.
That's very true.
Or you know what? What you could do as an alternative to all of this? Do it in a time period where people don't expect the games to be high quality anyway. So that fourth preseason game, get rid of that and make that the Pro Bowl from the previous year.
That could be, yeah.
Or maybe the first game. What was it? What's the game that they play every year at the Hall of Fame game?
The Hall of Fame game.
Make that the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, but still, even in the Hall of Fame game, not all the starters are playing. They get ready for the season.
All I'm saying is that let those players go out there. It's a celebration. Nobody's expecting high quality football for the very, very first game of the season. Make that just, hey, these are our all-stars from last year. Look at them. Here they are. They're just going to play a little patty cake, a little touch football.
I say don't even play a game. Yeah. I say skills challenge. It's a lot at stake. It's a lot to risk. A lot of dollars behind these players to play an exhibition game that half people was really going to want to play and half the people really don't want to watch.
Yeah, I feel like the Pro Bowl is. I couldn't think of anything clever to rhyme with that to say that it's done. That has been NFL Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been tuned in to the Man Cave every last Wednesday. Myself and the fellas, we hold it down. I want to thank you all for tuning in on Facebook. Thank you for tuning in on Twitter. Thank you for tuning in on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe and click that bell so anytime we go live, you will be notified. Shout out to everybody that is watching us on Roku. And shout out to everyone that is watching us on or listening to us, dear God, on Hot 365 Radio. Shout out to you guys. Make sure you all follow us on Instagram at Platform Sports Talk. Make sure you also follow us on Twitter at 314 Sports Talk. It's that time, fellas. We are about to get into that good old baseball. We are about 40 games in. So, Doll, have you been watching any baseball lately? Do you have any takes?
I have not, man, and I'm kind of sad because I haven't been watching a lot of games. But from what I hear, Cardinals are lackluster in what they're doing. They're like middle of the road. They're up, they're down. They're streaky. They can't hit. Then they can't pitch. If you let the internet talk for them, talking about my St. Louis Cardinals. I don't really follow anybody else, man. Sorry, really, I don't know.
Yeah, so
Can't really say.
yeah,
It's
so
May. It's May. It's early.
it well, 40 games into 162. We are 25% of the way there.
You know
Excuse.
what? I think let's let the standings speak for ourselves, right?
Yeah, we're gonna let these standings speak for themselves. I'm gonna save the home league for last. I'm gonna start with the American League. Right now on the east side of the American League, you've got the New York Yankees just doing what the Yankees do, and New Yorkers love it, and non-New Yorkers hate it. Under the Yankees, you've got the Tampa Bay Rays. They are 4.5 games behind the Yankees, 2.5 games behind Tampa Bay. We've got Toronto, and that's what we're just going to do with that. Moving on to the American League Central, we've
Can I
got
do the Central?
Hmm?
Can I do the American League Central?
Go ahead, do the Central. Go ahead.
Oh yes. In American League Central, we have the Minnesota Twins with a 5-game lead over the White Sox, and the not Indians, but the Guardians are second place. They're 6.5 games out, and the Tigers and the Royals are trailing behind. They're terrible.
Yeah, Kansas City. Yeah. So let's go ahead and move on to the American League West. We've got the Houston Astros. I would say that's about it, but it's not. And then, we've got the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Do we still call them that? No, that's not
Yes,
the
they are.
of Anaheim. Okay,
Yes,
that's a long title. That's like don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juices in the hood. That's just
it's like
a
a
lot to
pimp
say.
named Slickback, man.
Yes, or a Tribe
That's the
Called
whole
Quest.
thing. Yes,
You gotta say the whole thing. All right, and then moving on into the National League.
National League East. Can I do that?
Yep, go ahead.
National League East. We have the New York Mets. The New York teams are dominating right now. And
Crazy.
boy, are they dominating. They got a 7.5 game lead over the next person, which is the Braves and the Phillies, which are tied for second right now. Then you have the Marlins, who is trailing right behind them, 8.5 games out. And then the Nationals, man, how the mighty have fallen. They're 13.5 games out.
Man, it was a fall from grace, unlike the movie. Going on to the NL Central. I'm just gonna say the Cardinals are in second place. We don't care about the team that's above us, and we damn sure don't care about the team that's below us. And I say damn sure. We don't care about the team below them either.
But say who's below them right there in that little fourth spot.
Below the Cardinals?
Who's
Oh,
in the
I'll
fourth
say
spot?
that. I will always say that. The team that is sucking ass. Like, dear God. It's night and day between ourselves and them. It's the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
They suck. Boo Cubs. I'm gonna sit here and say that for like 3 seconds. Boo Cubs. No, I'm just gonna say it 3 times. Boo Cubs. I hate them almost as much as I hate the Pirates. Speaking of the Pirates, they're trash too. Man. And then in the NL West.
NL West. Can I do that one?
Go ahead.
Trade them off. All right. We have the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are in first place, but not by much, because we have the San Diego Padres right behind them. The Fathers. I see they got a father in their life.
See, right? Remember? Oh my God! Do you remember like 4 years ago when they didn't? Like,
right.
Boy,
Their father has come home.
I found that milk, son.
Right. They are in second place, but they're 1.5 games out. And so now they have the Giants, the Diamondbacks, and the Rockies trailing right behind.
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge the fact that the two teams that we got two of our best players from, one of which who walked off the first game against Toronto the other night. That was fun. Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. Isn't it funny that when they leave their teams, the teams suffer, and then we, through everything that we have been through injuries, through COVID, through just slumps, we are still managing. I'm just going to leave it at that. We are managing right now. Joe, I want to highlight Joe. Joe came to us in our chat as a disgruntled Cardinals fan. She there was a mix of emotions. I can understand where she's coming from. The Cardinals, when you look at us on paper, I say us like I'm on the team. When you look at us on paper at the beginning of the season, there was really, with the way we came off of our last season, there was really nowhere for us to go but up. We could make the adjustments, we could make the improvements, and then we had to start dealing with injuries. We started dealing with COVID protocols. We started dealing with just lackluster performance, which is, I hate to say it, but it's like expected, or not expected, but we always make room for that to happen, And so I'll say, with us being a month and a half, almost 2 months in, I like the fact that through all of that, we have been able to keep our second place standing. And there's nowhere for us to go but above the Brewers. That was the team I didn't want to say, the Brewers. Above the Brewers.
And while I haven't been following the Cardinals like I really wanted to this year, I have been following some of the groups online on Facebook, the Cardinal groups and things like that. Man, us Cardinals fans can be dramatic, man. We lose a game, then we're the worst team in the league. Then we win the next night. We're going to go all the way to the World Series and win. It's just up and down. They're like, hey, we need to sit this guy down and bring this guy up. And it's like, man, look, it's May. Chill out. We ain't even got to the All-Star break yet, man.
We have to make the adjustments now.
We're second place. We're not the Royals. You know what I'm saying?
We're not the Pirates.
We're definitely not damn sure not the Pirates.
No, we damn sure like the Cubs. That's the damn show. We damn sure like the Cubs.
Is everything gonna be all right?
Everything is gonna be.
The Cardinals is right there. Cardinals is right there. We just need to just maintain. We just maintain. I just heard some sad, but not, it's some bad news about one of our pitchers, Reyes is going to be out for shoulder surgery, and they believe is going to be for the year. This is the player that already, I think he, like, the year before he was hurt,
he broke his hand one year.
Yeah,
I remember that.
And I think the second year, I think it was Tommy John surgery. I believe he was out for another year, and now this year he's going to be out for shoulder surgery. It's just like, man, I believe he had a bright future, but I don't know, man. It's too many injuries. It's kind of sad to kind of see how his career has been going right now. So that's been, I think that's, fresh news coming out of the Cardinal camp.
Yeah, that came out a couple days. Speedy recovery to Alex Reyes. I hope he can get back. I hope that eventually he can get to the form that we were, or just a slice of the form that we were anticipating and hoping for him to be. T-Bone, I'm gonna get to you in a second. I'm gonna let you enjoy that delectable meal. Real quick, I want to go ahead and bring in another member of our squad. He goes by the name of BT, Mr. Brian Turner. What's going on, BT? How you doing?
Guys, what's going on? Can y'all hear me? Is my audio? How's my audio?
We can hear you.
Am I good?
Oh yeah.
No.
Yes.
Okay. Man, what's going on? I'm just sitting back, just listening to the show. Man, just got through watching some 4th and 5th graders do a little presentation of the Lion King and the Frog Kisses. So, man, it's been a busy day for me.
That's important work you're doing, man.
Sounds good.
We were just talking about the Padres, how they got a father in their life. Hey,
Circle of life.
hey, you the father in your kid's life, man.
Yes.
That's
Oh
important
no,
work.
man. The main thing, like I been trying to usher in, man, this whole notion of just manning up, just making sure that we doing the things, man, because man, it's just a crazy world we living in nowadays. And I know that's cliche when a lot of people say that, but again, you have to cherish yours. You got to make sure that you tell your loved ones, man, that you love them. Give a call to your grandparents, give a call to some of your family members that you haven't seen in a while, just to check in on them, because man, at any day, at any time, man, it can just be gone just like that. So, us as men, man, us as family men, man, we have to do our part in trying to make this world a better place. But, that's just my little spiel right there. But that's what I'm pushing right now. So,
100%, man, 100%.
BT, while you're pushing spiels, go ahead and push your podcast for us one time. Go and give that a little promo push.
Yeah, so right now, man, I'm probably on like episode number 42 or 43 of the Brian Turner Basketball Podcast. I try to put those things out weekly, and just try to touch base with a lot of hoopers, a lot of sports figures around town, and just give my perspective of just what goes on in our game, that we try to push our high school game, our college game, just the game of basketball forward. Because I mean, from my day and age, one of the things that we all aspire to be is what we call a baller. What's a baller? A baller is just somebody that's in the game, and your game could be the game of life. It could be music. It could be working. Any job. It could be going to school. But I just like to have those conversations with those ballers, man. Those people that are in the mix, and just making sure that they ushering in the game, whatever game that they're pushing out there. We try to have those conversations with those folks. So I had my brother Smoooth on last week. Shout out to Smoooth, man. We went for probably like an hour and 30, chopping it up, and that could have easily been a 4-part series, man. We had a lot of stuff that we didn't get a chance to touch on, but shout out to that brother. So I released the episode today with Coach RJ, Coach Ryan Johnson over at Quadrant Ritter. So if you get a chance to check that out, it's Brian Turner Basketball on YouTube and Brian Turner Basketball Podcast on all audio podcast sites. So get that a listen when you get a chance to. And also the Man Cave, that's be live in full effect right now.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Well, since we got you here and you speak about it on your podcast, I say it's about that time that we go ahead and get into these NBA playoffs. BT, man, I want to start first with going over the bracket. Right now, we have made it to the Final Four. On the East, in the Eastern Conference, we've got the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics going at it. They are tied in the series, but right now in the second quarter, the Heat have a 4-point lead over the Celtics. It is 36-32. And over on the West, we've got the Golden State Warriors, who were looking to sweep the Dallas Mavericks, but they mounted a comeback win yesterday, or a sweep preventing win, I should say, yesterday, despite the leaks in the arena. And now the series is a 3-1 Golden State lead.
You want me to chime in on that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What have you been seeing so far? Yeah, can you hear us? BT, are you there?
Can you hear me? Yeah. So with my picks, I mean, from the start, I said Golden State, man. I mean, they have that championship pedigree, man. They got champions, they got winners over there on that side. And I just think, they like to close out games at home. So I look to see Golden State probably closing these guys out tomorrow night or whenever the next game is, and then get some rest. But the main thing is going to be, this dogfight in the East. I mean, I can see this easily going 7 games, and whoever makes it out, whether it's Boston, whether it's the Heat, man, they're going to be banged up. They're going to be wore out. And I think, ultimately, I'm rooting for the Celtics. But, man, Golden State is just too tough, man. Them guys can just score so many buckets in so many different ways. So I'm picking Boston and Golden State, and I'm picking Golden State in 6.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Well, if we can, and I wanted to do this last month, but my internet needed some milk. I want to take it back. Y'all knew it was coming. The first round on the east side of the playoffs between the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets. You know, that team that KD and Kyrie are on, that was supposed to be just so unstoppable in these playoffs. They got swept like dust mites on the floor.
Wait a minute. They were supposed to be unstoppable when they had everybody on their team. When we were looking at it, when people were looking at them in the regular season, some stuff happened along the way.
See, I can't. They were deemed unstoppable before that waste of an acquisition, because he's at home too. They were deemed, unstoppable when it was just KD and Kyrie. They had that big rapport plus the supporting guys on the team. But KD and Kyrie, or KD, Kyrie, and James, either way, them boys got swept. BT, I wanna ask you, with this first round sweep, and I wanna make this sound as unbiased as possible. So I will say, do you believe that at this point that the KD is equal to or greater than LeBron James? Do you feel like that conversation has to, I don't want to say completely cease, because I don't want to be biased, but take a brief pause?
I mean, the main thing is that we've seen LeBron go on this run like no other athlete has in history, and it's kind of unfair to even put KD and LeBron in those categories. And again, we all are like a type of we digest the NBA like that, and it's just like who's ever the hottest at that time, we're deeming him the best player on the planet. Okay, don't get it twisted. LeBron has put a run together that no other person in probably sports have done, and he's done it without having any major injuries, and he's been like losing a lot of time by doing it. I do think that KD at this point in time, he has to he got to change his game up. KD, if he hasn't lift weights since he's been in the NBA, now it's about time for him to start lifting weights, because he just got manhandled that series. I mean, Boston had a particular way that they wanted to play him, and they that way. They got physical with him, and only KD had was a pull-up jump shot. He didn't attack the basket, and those things, you can say that, it's fatigue. You can say that it's, wear and tear. But a lot of those things can kind of get substituted if you just lift weights and you just kind of, get yourself ready for that grind. If you guys remember, when Jordan had to play the Pistons all of those years, he kept getting knocked around and knocked around. What did he do? He said, you know what? I know I'm going to play the Pistons. Let me get in this weight room and get my body stronger so I can attack that basket and do all of those things. So he has to start changing up his game and lift weights. And a lot of that comes at, upper body strength, lower body strength. for the most part, that was just a circus to just start off, from the whole COVID thing with, Kyrie not wanting to, get on board, all of the mixed messages coming out of the organization. Like, it was just a debacle. And you able to see the difference in organization. A championship organization, you're going to hear one statement coming from the top on down, and everybody's going to articulate the same statement. From the Miami Heat to the Celtics, and even to a degree, the guys that are on the West Coast from Golden State. You see, we just had Steve Kerr come out and make a monumental speech at the press conference, but nobody is wavering from the things that he's saying. So you're hearing one constant message. In that locker room with Brooklyn, it was a debacle from the beginning. When you look at towards the end of the season, basketball is about matchups. You look at someone like Boston and Golden State and people trying to play for the second and the third seed and trying to move away. Boston and Brooklyn, it was just a bad matchup to begin with, And so when they drew that series and was able to get that series, Boston got the series that they wanted. Brooklyn was trying to run away from it. And, hats off to Jason. You got to think about it. He's made a run at knocking off KD, knocking off Giannis, and if he get a chance to knock off Jimmy Butler and Steph at age 24, man, he don't have to do nothing no more his career. He's stamped, solidified as one of the top players in the NBA history.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think KD needs to visit Tim Grover or something, just like Jordan did.
Wait a minute, though. Well,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If you look at their season, though, their stats were pretty close together. So, and I don't understand what it is that KD. Yeah, he may not have looked good in the playoffs, but he was in the playoffs. Just saying, but as far as their stats go, it's not like he was a huge drop off compared to LeBron. They were pretty close together.
Well, so when we get to the playoffs, it's not individual stats, it's team stats. And like BT was saying, from the beginning of the season, it was just a COVID circus. And through all of that madness and the James Harden trade, you went from top two. Y'all remember at the beginning of the season, the Nets were top 2 in the East. They fell all the way to number 7.
But that goes back to what we were talking about last week on the Platform Sportstalk show. We were talking about Harden, and Harden wanted to leave the team, but why? To go to a team he never played, to go to a team that he never played for, play for some different people. The team as itself was doing fine, even with Kyrie out. When I looked up the stats, even with Kyrie out, Kyrie was still performing relatively well for being only playing half the games. So all I'm saying is that Durant didn't do anything wrong here. He was dealt a bad hand. That's not on him.
Go ahead. Now, I was going to say just about chemistry. When you look at someone, it's not a surprise that Boston, they were one of the hottest teams towards the end of the year in the NBA, and now they're gelling, they're peaking at this time. It takes a while for teams to start gelling, and when you have too many moving parts moving around, too many different messages coming out, you forget what your job is. You forget what you're there to actually do. You don't, play ball. It's all about the guys in that locker room.
But here's the question I was going to ask you. So, again, even they were top 2 all season, right? Even when you had Kyrie playing half the games, they were still top 2. Do you think that the results of this first round would have been the same if Harden wouldn't have left the team?
I just think the matchups were bad. The matchups all around were just bad. Styles make fights. When you look at Brooklyn on paper, when you look at Boston on paper, I guarantee Boston wanted that type of matchup, and it's just one of those things that, Brooklyn has, they don't have anybody that's going to be like an equalizer on the defensive end. as far as just someone, all those guys are offensive players. I mean, it's Harden, Kyrie, KD, all of those guys have just been offensive players their whole career. And in the playoffs, it's about adjustment. They had a game plan going into this is how we're going to stop KD. So once we figured out we're going to stop KD and this is how we're going to stop him, we're going to make KD play some defense. And he got exposed. He got exposed by a young boy out there. So, but just to answer your question, I mean, it was a bad matchup all around. And styles make fights. You just got to have guys that are, that can just basically match up with when you see guys in the playoffs, you may see somebody come in that never played all year, but that was that matchup, that tweak within the series that they had to get or someone has to get. And that's what the playoff game is about, making adjustments. And Brooklyn never made an adjustment.
Hey, speaking of chemistry, I heard sources say that Kevin Durant hasn't talked to the Nets management since the season ended. BT, do you make what do you make of that?
I mean, it's just one of those things in the NBA. It's kind of at the end of the season, guys go their separate ways, especially, and then you got to look at like them guys are veterans. Them guys have been in the league 10 plus years. They're not really trying to hang around each other when they don't have to. And again, that's a sign of the chemistry. You may have a young team, even when you think about young team, young organizations, the management, the organization, they try to keep those guys together to do things all year round. Whether if it's, a leader would say, all right, look, we're going to go, vacation with each other for a couple weeks, and we're going to get back in the lab, and all of us are going to work out together. I've seen Golden State do it. It's been documented that Golden State would get together, have runs in LA. They all will go running in the sand to get ready for the season. These guys are just old and stuck in their ways that they pointing the finger at the organization like, go give me some help. Go give me some help, as opposed to taking it on like a grassroots type team and a grassroots type player with, man, let me organize some runs and let me organize some stuff to get my team together. Again, it's the professional range. You may not even have those guys that you start the season with because there's so many moving parts in that. But yeah, those guys are just stuck in their ways. They veterans and they want what they want, and they're going to make a big stink about it. So, I think it's all antics, him unfollowing certain folks and not reaching out to certain people. I mean, it's this modern day athlete.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I think Golden State has a few years on a few more championship years coming, especially in the next few. I think that they can stake their claim back at the top of the mountain, and everybody else is going to have to go through them because they've always seemed like the team to beat. The only reason they haven't even been there, it seems like, over the past few years, just because of injuries. Some injuries caught up with them, and now they've had a chance to all come back together as a team, and they can pick up right where they left off.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Real quick, BT already gave his prediction for how these playoffs will come to their conclusion. Sadal, between the four teams that are left, the Celtics, Heat, Dallas, and the Mavericks and the Warriors, give me an East and a West team and who you see coming out victorious in the finals.
I say East Miami, and in the West Golden State. Golden State taking it.
Okay. How many games?
I'll say 5. No. Yeah, 5.
A generous. Dear God. All right. T-Bone, what say ye, good sir?
Stick with my original prediction from when the playoffs started. Golden State is going all the way, and they're going to beat Miami. And if you want the amount of games, I'll say they'll do it in 6.
Okay. I wish I could speak with confidence that No, I'll speak with confidence. They're not playing against LeBron James this time. I don't think Golden State will blow another 3-1 lead. I don't think. I don't know. But if they can maintain, I'll say Golden
It's the
State
Mavericks.
again.
They're not.
But damn, okay, jeez. I'll say Golden State and Boston, and Boston in 7. It's gonna take all 7. All 7. It's not gonna be like the Golden State series back in 2016. It's not gonna be 3-1 and then that's it. I believe it'll go almost tit for tat. I believe that'll be an entertaining series, and it's not originally one I wanted. I wanted my Bulls, but anyway. I'm taking 5 seconds. Fuck you, Smooth.
I think that sound effect can apply to this Blues game right now.
Damn.
Oh boy.
Yeah, last I saw it was what, 3-0?
3-1.
3-0. Okay.
Got one goal.
Look, we got one. All right. One last question that I want to bring up. We brought up KD not talking with the front office. Kyrie this year in this offseason can opt out and become a free agent, which I wouldn't be surprised if he did that. That would, unless they fully lifted this sanction in New York, that would give him the opportunity to play all the games.
They already lifted it.
They did, but they keep talking about it. So I don't know. There's a potential. I read somewhere that there's a potential that they might put it back, depending on how these numbers go, because numbers are starting to spike. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking sports. Should something happen and both Kyrie and KD leave the Nets, all you're left with is Ben Simmons. Do you all, I think I already know the answer, but I'm not sure. Do you all believe that with a sound offseason of proper rehab training and just the proper workouts, that if the necessary pieces are put around him, Ben Simmons has the potential to lead a franchise?
I know we got 5 minutes left. I'm going to make it quick. No.
I'm a second that no.
No.
Yes,
he's not going to, because people don't have confidence at this stage. Even if he could, there's no confidence.
Does he even want to play basketball? Does he even want to play in the NBA? That's the question.
That is a good question.
But that's another question for another week.
That is for another month. Yeah. We're once a month. Every last Wednesday, by the way. Yeah, shout out to Ladies Night. They'll be here next week. Make sure you check them out. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube, turn on the notifications so you can get notified. Make sure that you get on Hot 365 in case you have to listen while you're at work. If you're at home relaxing, you can check us out on Roku. And if you've been A1 since day one, you can check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. And when you subscribe on YouTube, make sure you click on that bell. So every time we go live, you will be notified. Well, fellas, it's another month in the books. I was actually here this time. Shout out to my well-moisturized internet connection.
Yes. Got the fresh milk.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen.
Man, right on, fellas. Right on. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate it all you do.
And Stanton's audio went out at the very end.
Hey, you know what we need to do for this next month coming up? We need to make the push to get to 500 subscribers on YouTube. So let's see if we can make that challenge happen. Let's reach out to everybody. We need to get everybody that you know out there to subscribe to the platform Sports Talk Show. Don't just listen, talk about it. Tell your people, tell your friends, aunties, cousins, brothers, sisters, mothers. Tell them all. Let's get to
auntie and them.
Tell them, mama and them. There used to be a restaurant down here. Used to be pretty good. Good things.
Tell your next door neighbor.
Tell them all. Tell them all. Get to that. We need to get to 500 subscribers, and we want to do that by the time we get to June 30th. So that's going to be the big push over this next month. 500 subscribers. Let's make it happen.
I definitely believe in y'all. We got a month. We can do it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Man Cave. You all be safe out there. We will see you all next month. Peace.